Got something in mind for you and I.
Hey, it is me, Wanda B, and you are listening to the sounds of peace, love, and wine with Frankie Parker. I love my Frankie Parker. You can get her song from iTunes. Listen to it on B103. Just love Frankie Parker. So today, he said, she said on IntellectualRadio.com. We're the iHeart Radio station. We have some hot topics for you today. I want to give a special thanks out to Clothing Giovanna Jolie, located at 11614 Marshfield Plaza, for supplying the clothes that I have on today. So appreciate you all. Please check them out. If you've ever been to Bare Feet Shoes, used to be in Country Club Hills, I think they're the same people. So if you like their shoes, Giovanna Jolie, 11614 Marshfield. They also have one in Cal City. Check them out. Room 183, we had He Said, She Said live last week. We're going to bring something a little bit different. November 8th at Room 183, 4167 West 183rd Street in Country Club Hills. We are going to be doing the he's versus the she's. Should be a good time. We kind of played a little bit off of it this week with a battle of the sexes, where we had the he's answer the she's answered the questions from the he's and vice versa, see how we think and we play out. So it's a kind of a version of what we do here, but we're going to be doing it a little bit different November 8th. So make sure you go by Room 183, 4167 West 183rd Street in Country Club Hills. It starts at 8 p.m. So we love to see you there. Okay, so let's get into our topics. Oh, one more thing. I want you to go tonight, this evening, and see blazers and bow ties. Mr. E. I interviewed him last week, and you can check that out at IntellectualRadio.com. Interview Mr. E. This man's voice. If you like Luther, you're gonna like Mr. E. He has a album appreciation concert coming out tonight. Tonight is going to be at The Wire, 6815 West Roosevelt Road in Berwyn. Tonight it starts at 5:30. I'm going to be there. Hope to see you there. Go by there and hear his music. You will love it. He's going to have Ross Augusta, Maestro, The Remedy. It's hosted by Sharita. So Sharita Divine. It starts at 5:30. So go by there. The Wire, 6815 West Roosevelt Road. Okay, I have with me some of my lovely he's and the she's that I love so much. With me, I got O'Kara.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
And the beautiful Valencia.
Good. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, you guys. How was your weekend, guys?
I worked.
Mine was chill. Yeah, mine was chill.
Chill weekends are good, I think, right?
Yes. Nothing went wrong. Everything went right. So.
Yeah. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of going by My Chocolate Soul. She is a radio sister here and has a beautiful chocolate store at 442 Broadway. And she had cigars, conversations, and cocktails, and it was a really nice evening. So I had a good time. I love to do something different. Her show is here on Mondays at 4 p.m. on IntellectualRadio.com. So you can check her out. Her show is called Chocolate for the Soul. So, but beautiful chocolate shop. I mean, and she makes it all there. And we know, at least, if you like chocolate, I know some people don't, but some ladies really do. It definitely is chocolate for the soul. It just melts in your mouth. So check her out. And I had the pleasure of attending her event. So that was nice. Okay, we got some hot topics for you guys. Now, we have the group He Said, She Said on Facebook. And if you're watching on Facebook, please join in the conversation. I love to talk to you guys too. If you're watching from my government page, if you're watching from 30 and up doing us, I so always appreciate all of our members who watch from our groups, and please join their group. They talk about hot topics just like He Said, She Said all week long. So I appreciate that. And please share the broadcast now, because we love to hear all your opinions, all the he's and the she's on what you think about what we're talking about. So, okay, what happened in our group He Said, She Said is, Valencia, I think you posted it, and it's going to be one of our hot topics today. And also, we kind of played on it last week, and I thought it was perfect to mention. Last week, we had L. Williams, the comedian. We had Nita Vane. Valencia, you were here. O'Kara, you were here. And y'all two, you feeling better? And y'all two just slid on in here. My right-hand man to my left is a little bit further left right now. You feeling better?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody.
Great to have you here, and y'all two have you back. Okay, so to catching y'all two up, and you guys that are just now listening last week, and what came up in the group was, I don't know if you saw what Gabrielle Union talked about, and I don't even know how to describe it. What is it? What are the kids calling it? Eating the groceries? Is that what the groceries? Tossing salad,
groceries,
eating some groceries, and whether it's deemed as gay-ish if you do it, or whether it's, some women were like, she shouldn't even discuss it. Well, obviously, Gabrielle Union is saying, please, your man, do what he likes. I think I didn't watch it all. So, Valencia, you explain what that video, because I don't want to act like I actually watched it.
That's all basically it was. It was just her basically saying, you know, please your man if that's what you like. You into it, fine. You know, it's basically what we said last week. Find your equal freak, find your equal nasty, however you want to call it. But as far as the comment of that, you know, you should not speak on it, I agree with Gabrielle's point, because she also, of course, she can't get away from her comments now, so it's coming up on anything she's questioned about. So she responded, this is what causes, we want to talk about why people go out and cheat. You know, they shouldn't, but there are reasons why people do. And it's because we can't open up and talk about some of the things that we really, truly want to do within the relationship because of the judgment and the attachments that go with it. So, I mean, it needs to be, a conversation needs to be had if we're going to really talk about how we get to healthy relationships.
So,
I love when you hesitate, Kara. That means something. What you got to say?
All right. So the thing that I thought was, actually, when I watched the video, she was basically talking about reciprocate what is done to you. So your man gives you a shoulder rub, you give him one. If he does something, you do it. Just kind of, just both people being all into it, trying to please each other. Now, basically what was asked of her was, well, what if your man tosses your salad? Are you tossing his salad too? So it wasn't as if she just offered that up. It was a question asked when she was talking about a theory. They made it personal, and she basically appeared like she didn't want to lie about what she does or what she didn't do. And so she basically said, you know, yeah, if it was done, I did it, kind of thing, and not to be embarrassed about it. And everybody is having a fit over something that was just a regular conversation that grown people do all the time. Some of the people talking smack know they do it.
Yes.
It's just childish. Yeah. And then the other thing about it is in the group, there's somebody who always want to attach sexuality to sexual acts. Look, we all gay then, because everything we do, not all gay. Everything we do, they do. So if you're gonna attach sexual acts to sexuality, we all gay then, because they do everything we do, plain and simple.
Facts.
That's one perspective.
What's yours, and y'all too?
No, I'm just kidding. I don't. If you like getting your butt licked, get your butt licked. Don't care what nobody else thinks. If I enjoyed that, I would do that. I just will never know, because I'm never gonna let anybody lick my butt. I wash my butt. I wipe my butt.
That's good to know.
Make me.
You go ahead, H. Valencia.
That's the ground. Those are the ground rules. You gotta start there.
Start fresh.
Those two things make me think I don't want nobody licking my butt. But
So you're saying it's unpleasant when you wash there?
I don't want anybody.
He said licking. He didn't say wash it.
I like getting clean, but
that's good to know.
Nothing is stimulating about it that makes me think I would enjoy a wet tongue back there, or a finger, or anything like that. But I'm not saying anybody else who likes it is gay. I don't pay attention to what other people say. Do what
I think that's
and that's what we want to say. Do you? But let's not label it.
If your lady likes to do the trumpet, make it happen.
What's the trumpet?
What's the trumpet? We learning something new today. What's
the trumpet?
This is not sex talk. We will be moving on, you guys.
Somebody told me a trumpet was when a woman gets behind a man and she's licking his butt and reaching around him and jerking him off at the same time. So it's like a trumpet.
Oh, okay. Learn something new. Okay.
Learn something.
See, you learn things here on He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com. We're here to educate.
That's the word on the
The
street.
he's and the she's. And Yatu is not for or against the trumpet. He's just telling you what he knows what it is. So do what you do. I think we call and label what people do. Keep what you do in the bedroom. Do what you do. You don't have to talk about it. I don't think it's necessarily. But if you're free to talk about it, why do we judge what other people do? If you don't like it, don't do it.
Yeah.
But find equal-minded people. It's a recipe for disaster to say, I like this, and I'm going to choose someone who says, I adamantly don't like it. Don't you think you're starting off with some problems?
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of people have to stop looking at, not a lot, do what you want to do, like I said, but just maybe if you say, well, he has a nice car and he has a nice this, or she has this and this, but she don't do all the things I like sexually, maybe down the line that may become an issue.
Oh, it will.
That when you choose some of the things that are non-negotiable for you and choose to negotiate them, and then you get with somebody and find out they don't like it, and then you may have some issues, maybe.
That's a topic too. Everybody on the panel, my question to you is, does a person have to do everything you like for you to enjoy it?
No.
Or, I didn't think.
No,
It has to be one of those non-negotiables though that I can live without. I've done it so much I don't care if I don't get it again.
In sexual realm or period?
Yeah, sexual realm.
Yeah, but
they have to at least be willing to try it once and then tell me that they didn't like it. But to just tell me that you want to try, you can. If I want to
take the trumpet, and then if I don't like it, I can.
But what if you've had the trumpet so much I don't want it no more? I'm good if I don't get it anymore.
What if you never want a trumpet?
And if you never want a trumpet and she says, "Cool, I don't like trumpets either," we good.
Fine.
We fine.
There's certain things that's like the foundation of my sex life.
Which should we ask?
And if you ain't with the foundation of my sex life, then it's just certain things, other little things that go beyond that. Not a big deal, but if you don't get down with the foundation, we can't.
If you don't give me head, you fired.
Well, why would you get with someone if you know that's a deal breaker? You can't live without that. Why be with someone who says I don't do that?
Exactly. But you know what? There was a time when I'll never forget this. I was dating this young lady, and we first started dating. It was like I would walk in the room, she would drop and be at it, and then like after a while, I went like 3 weeks without receiving it, and I was like, "Look, you being a little selfish. What's up with you?" And she was like, well, I really don't like it. I just know you do. And I was like, well, I still like it.
Well, I'm glad you know I do, because I do. That's another thing people do, though. Pretend they like something to get with someone when they know they don't really like it. And they hope they get you because then they can stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that doesn't quite work that way.
You stop, we stop.
I have a saying. Do you need me to hire you an assistant? You need help getting this done if you can't get it all done yourself? Because that's not going to work.
Thank you, Keenan, and everybody who's on Facebook chiming in. Please share the show. I appreciate you all. Tucson said rusty trombone is what the white boys call it. Okay. I never been with one of those to know what they call it. One rare jewel.
Slang for this.
There's slang, the rusty trombone.
It's been going on. That's what I'm saying. Let's stop playing. Let's just grow up. It happens. We do it. Either you join in the party or you don't join in the party. It's whatever.
Get people who are part of your party.
I didn't even know about the trumpet or the rusty trombone until 2017. I never even heard of it.
Well, you just schooled me on the rusty trombone. And so I learned something too, I must say. Hola, Naida. She has been a guest here on the show. Keenan, everybody who's chiming in. Keisha, I miss you one too. You all have to come back on. I miss your show. Or maybe I missed it and it's been on, so I don't know which it is. But thank you for sharing the broadcast, everybody who does. I so appreciate you. So we're going to move on because this is never a comfortable topic. Last week it didn't go.
Oh, yeah. No.
It doesn't go too well.
Probably choking Gabrielle Union. Don't be telling my business.
No, he not.
Interview.
No, he's probably proud of that.
Yeah,
I think he's proud.
But she didn't have to be talking about it.
He probably is proud.
And she didn't. She wasn't specific about it.
She don't have to be. She don't have to be.
Look, every time, listen, I could talk about a sexual act that I've done. It does not mean that I was doing it with the person that I last dated. It does not mean that.
Well, that don't feel good either. If that's my wife.
Speaking of experiences, if you're just speaking of experiences, it does not necessarily mean it's currently happening.
But people assume
they do. That's
the problem. He could not like it.
She's not even doing it with him.
Maybe not.
She's just talking about she is not not appalled, but what is the word? She's not against doing it with him if that's what he wanted.
Exactly. She was talking about a theory, her theory on sex. That's all it was. It had nothing to do with personal stuff. It didn't have anything to do with him. It was a theory on sex,
Man,
and people made it personal.
It's all personal.
It's not
all
even
personal at the end of the day.
The whole theory had nothing even to do with the sex act that came up. Somebody
that
just
was
asked her that.
They threw back
That's
at her.
just something they threw back
and
at her.
because she
It wasn't.
responded that way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, people do assume, and I would hate that someone assumed. I don't like my personal life, whether I do or don't. I wouldn't like that it was put out there, but I can understand if he was like, why'd you talk about that? But if I didn't watch it, so I hate to comment about something I haven't seen, so I shouldn't. So I'm going to leave it alone because I haven't seen it. But
I think she tried to clarify. I saw in the write-up about it that she was saying that she was married before, and you know.
Yeah, she said you don't know. She said this is my second marriage, like, and I've dated people.
Oh, so she clarified
that you don't know who she's talking about. She didn't say it was who it was, and she just basically saying that you don't know.
She said,
I'm with
two decades.
I'm with Tucson. He said, if you eating butt and you say that out loud, the partner you with is surely getting their butt eaten. I agree. That's just common sense.
Right. Why am I going to talk about what my two exes ago did?
Right.
I mean, that's not even what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about who I do things with now. Or that's what people will assume.
Because there is plenty of stuff I've done with some people in the past that I haven't done with others.
Absolutely.
But my current is not going to want me out here on the radio talking about what I used to do with other people.
I think if you're in that genre of work and the spotlights, there's something that comes with it. There is things that people who, if they're dating us, even we're not even, we're not even on that, level of exposure. But we have to have conversation to be honest, and they have to deal with that. There's people coming out to meet us and he said, she said live. They have to deal with that. So you have to talk about these things, period, and be honest. It doesn't mean you're exposing them.
Like if she got on the thing and started talking about how she was abused, does that mean Dwayne is abusing her? No, that could just be her past.
Not quite the same.
It is the same. It is the same. It's the subject about her experiences, and all.
We can agree to disagree, but she looking Dwayne butt and she picking out his capris.
And she might be.
And she put the peroxide in his head and make it blonde and all of that stuff. So let's just keep it real, man.
No, I hope she didn't pick the capris.
Yeah,
I don't like that
stuff. She's walking around with him with the capris on. She approves of the capris.
Okay, I don't like that. I want her to stop.
Stop approving of the capris.
Stop approving your man's wardrobe.
And the blonde highlights.
Right, if you are.
And if she like it, I watch it, I can. But it's just so public. And then my son will want capris because he saw Dwayne Wade in capris. But no,
I disagree with that. I don't know. Maybe the capri came with a check and they sold out for the check. We don't know. It might not have been her. It might have been the check.
That's true. But she still approved it.
Okay.
The lady be like, he got money. So she be like, hey, that capri thing, I just don't. The man gonna listen to his woman, right?
No, y'all ain't gonna
Your
listen.
man gonna keep wearing capris?
Y'all ain't listening. I'm just playing. I'm not gonna.
I ain't gonna have him capri.
He can listen or not listen. I'm not gonna be with anybody with no capris on.
I'm listening to myself.
He ain't got to listen.
Keenan said she picking out them capris. I said,
you like them?
I can't speak on him, but the boy Shumpert,
who is Shumpert?
Tiana Taylor is his girl.
Oh
She's
gosh,
cute,
I
but
feel
she
so
be putting
old.
him in sheer cut off shirts and all type of stuff to match her. I just be like, bruh, don't do it.
So why do people get married, you guys? What is the benefit? I know, isn't that like, it sounds so simple to ask, but it sounds like it's such a
it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, actually. The show has had me thinking about it. Shout out to the life coach James how do you pronounce it? Borshay.
He'll be here November 5th.
Yeah, it has really had me really thinking about it. And when I consider my life, I think to myself, if I'm going to get married, I would have to see that person, that woman, as such a good partner and teammate for me that everything that I want to do and accomplish and experience would be enhanced, sped up to be with that person. Otherwise, I don't see why I would marry that person. And I asked multiple women since I started thinking about this, what is their mission in life? And what do they think our collective mission would be? And a lot of them are just saying marriage is the mission, which totally scratched them off the list for Anyatu in that scenario, because that's not a mission in my humble opinion. And it's certainly not something that's going to enhance and enrich my life if that's the only goal is to get married. That's the starting point, not the finish line. So that's what I think about marriage. I think two people should be coming together because the things that they want in life, the things that they need in life will be greatly enhanced by them coming together. Not just because you love them, not just because
You shouldn't come together because you love them.
You said not just because.
Okay.
Because the rent would get cut in half.
That's why people do though.
A lot of people definitely do it, but I think it should definitely be about enriching and enhancing life. My life is a Ferrari right now, and I don't want to trade it in for a Honda Accord. And there's nothing wrong with Hondas, of course.
You don't want to hurt the Honda's feelings.
Not at all.
He just got
be politically correct for the Hondas.
He just got it for a Honda Accord.
I'm sorry, Honda. He didn't mean what he said. That is not the opinion of Intellectual Radio. That is that opinion of Inyatu Marble.
Beep beep.
See, we know you like.
I like Honda. I just don't want my life to be a Honda.
What's wrong if you like Hondas? What's wrong with having your life be a Honda?
A Honda is more like, it's a nice, reliable family vehicle. My son is 15 going on 16, and we like hot cars. We don't need it. We don't want a reliable economy, good gas mileage vehicle for a lifestyle.
What if it's loyal?
My Ferrari is loyal to me.
It's loyal to it, right?
It has, yeah, absolutely. It has. I got vanity plates on.
Want the more maintenance. They want the high maintenance.
The high. Yeah, I do want. I'm high maintenance. What we gonna do?
Valencia.
Why do people marry? I think people marry for different reasons. I think you still have your traditionalists who do it for love. You have those that do it and look at it solely as a business structure, stability. But then you have those who are looking for the combination. I think we have more people that are trying to replace marriage with throwing out all of the things of, this is something we've fallen weak to the society, set this up. We don't really need this marriage. And I'm speaking for myself. If we're going to fight a battle of something that we need to change from traditions, let's not start with the entity of marriage. Let's start with some of this other stuff that can make us stronger as a community. But to take away the entity of marriage, what that says to me is that the man has decided to say, because in the end, the man is the one who has to ultimately say yes to the marriage. He asks, we just waiting for him to ask, but he has to ask for the question to even be answered. So when that man makes that decision, marriage means he made the decision that he chose me. He put me first. I am top priority. I am before all others. And he is saying that from the tops of the mountains to everybody in the world that we meet. And it's symbolized with not only the paper, but the ring that you join, and you symbolize a person from across the room should be able to tell that you're married from these symbols. And I think we try to put a bad light on it these days and make it like not so important anymore, because we don't have the positive stories of marriage, and we're not teaching how to really have the kind of relationships. And so everybody's going in with an angle, and people are now latching on to everyone has an angle. And so it's washing out what marriage really was supposed to be.
One rare jewel said that they married for security, love, and children. And Anna Nicole Lacey, who will be here next week with Toussaint Werner, who is always a contributor here, will actually be in studio when we're going to talk about Black wealth. So tune in next week. But Anna Nicole said, Tiffany, we marry for love, companionship, and empire building. So what do you think, Okera?
So I've been kind of thinking about this because I get exposed to like other cultures and kind of listening to like why they get married, and how sometimes they get married. Like a lot of like there are cultures who kind of like marry within families that they know, and when they speak of it, they will reference the family name. Like the so-and-sos, do you know so-and-sos? Do you know the so-and-sos? And so it's kind of strange, like, looking at it like that or listening. But I think that people really get married because they think that they have to, or that they should, or that they have this ideal of what, like, you're supposed to do when you get grown. And I think what's wrong with that is that they don't really understand like what marriage really is, and people don't go about it how it's supposed to be done. Like when you get married, you're supposed to become one. That's how it was planned. That's how it was designed to work. But a lot of people likes to maintain their individuality, and that's the reason why a lot of times I don't think it worked. I think personally, if I was going to get married, it would be for legacy. And basically what Naitu was saying, as far as like just being able to have somebody who is looking at life similar to what you're looking at life, who can add to what what you have, and kind of see the future the way you see it, or similar to the way you see it, so you two can build something for yourselves, for your kids, for your family, and just in that way. I couldn't do just that. It would have to be with love too. I couldn't build legacy with somebody I didn't have passion for.
Well, you mentioned the other races. Do they marry for legacy as well? I don't know.
They marry for legacy. They marry for the culture. They marry to preserve what their culture have. It's funny. I was talking to this guy. We were having a conversation, and I asked him. He was a doctor, and I said, why are you a doctor? Like, is it, and he said, that's interesting. He's like, at first I wanted to be something else or whatever, but basically it's probably because my father's a doctor, and then his wife was also in the medical field. And that's, and he was just talking. He was like, basically that's probably, the route his kids may even go because of what they have established. And a lot of times that's what you see. I spoke to this young, I want to say she's Indian, and she told me that her parents gave her options, and her options was you could either be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. She didn't like blood, and she didn't like to argue, so she chose engineer. But that's the way a lot of cultures do things.
I think that used to be true in American culture too, that it was about families and things of that nature too. I think we've just gotten away from it, whereas other cultures have stuck with it. But I think Toussaint made an incredible question and point. He says, does the institution of love get looked over by the institution of marriage? And I would say yes, absolutely it does. In fact, Anna Nicole Lacey, one of the things she said that always rings in my head is she said, if a man doesn't marry you or hasn't married you, he hasn't done anything for you, no matter what he's done up to that point. And when I listen to Valencia talk about marriage with the passion and seriousness that I just heard her talk about it too, it seems like what he said about people feeling like it's what they're supposed to do. I think a lot of women, not saying the two women I just spoke of, but I think a lot of women partially assess their value based on whether or not a man has or is ready to marry them. And I think that it has become a bit of a show, and that the true essence of marriage has become distorted for a lot of people.
But I would like to speak on behalf of the women of that, because I don't want to say that it necessarily means that they value. I think that it makes them valued.
It's use just the words that they've been chosen. So it kind of seems like you haven't been, I'm asking for clarity, that if he doesn't want to marry you, then he isn't choosing you, and that doesn't have value. Then you're not valued by him because he's not choosing to marry you.
It's not that you're not valued by him, but if we can use the term, but then I'll go ahead and I'll stay and use the term, then you're not valued as much. You're not valued. You haven't touched him. You're not valued as much because he has not made that final. So here. Let me put it to you. Let me put it to you in another term, because we can understand it on everyday term, but we'd like to change it around when it comes to relationships. You going car shopping, right? If you're really going to look for a car, you're not just window shopping, and you're really going to look for a car, you're going to make a decision, and you're going to drive off with the car that you think best fits your style, your upkeep that you can do, how much insurance, all of these things are going to go into you choosing that car. And when you make that choice of car, you have said, I have chosen the best thing for me. There's decisions that need to be made. And when you're in a relationship and you leave yourself open, because if we all agree, you're single until you're married. Even when you're in a committed relationship, this is still what people say, you're single until you're married. So if you still have the freedom to walk away from me after time and years invested, you did not value what I was to you, because you did not make me
People
yours.
divorce all the time, so nobody's committed.
They divorce, but that's another. Now we're moving on beyond it, but now we're still talking about, but we're talking about those marriages that didn't start out for the right things and right reasons and things like that.
I don't believe all marriages don't start for the right reasons.
Most of the divorces that are happening did not do the work necessary before they said I do. We saw the red flag.
That's an opinion. You have no evidence of that whatsoever.
If we sit back,
you do what's best for you at that time,
you
which
do
may
what's
change
best for
later
you.
in the future.
But I'm even speaking on my own experiences. There were things that before we said I do, and we do not have the rate of divorce that we have because people did the proper things, and that's period, point blank. They got married because they thought it was going to keep for the kids. That's not the recipe for success. They got together because the man had money. It's not the recipe for success. So there are reasons that we're getting married that are causing the high rate of divorce.
I don't agree. Facts. Some people got together young and they changed, they evolved, they grew. If they did the work at that time, the situation did not last.
I don't remain the same person I was 20 years ago. Yeah. So making all the right decisions based on where I am at that point in time in my life is different than choosing the wrong person. I choose exactly who I needed at that time.
Exactly.
What I thought I needed at that time. What winds up happening, life happens. And I'm not saying all situations are the same. I'm saying we can't say your one statement is you did it wrong.
Right.
It's
a lot of people
universal.
Married, they're still married, they're staying together for the kids and stuff that didn't do the work. So
and yes, they're staying together for the kids. And when those kids come of age, then that's when you see the disruption in the house.
Some stay married.
Some do stay married, but they stay married legally on paper, but they're living totally not married lives. They're doing their own things. They're going about their own thing. They're roommates. I'm talking about people who are really trying to have marriages and are getting together with doing the work. You're not going to tell me that everybody that we're having all this high divorce rate, and the big part of it is, and we're not doing what we need to do in the beginning before we say I do.
Well, maybe I'm not going to tell you,
maybe something wrong with marriage.
Because if
that's what I'm about to say. Maybe it's something wrong with marriage. Like if you got a stable job right now, you've been at that job, a new job comes along and they offer you a new position, but they tell you it's a 75% chance that they may close in the next 2 years. Are you about to go to that new job, or are you going to stay where you are? Because this is what we're looking at when we're talking about marriage. We're talking about an institution, an entity, a connection that has a very high failure rate. And yet and still people act like it's the most important thing, the end all, be all, and it's what's needed, and it's really a man making a decision. When I'm not so sure about that. I really don't. It depends on what you believe in and what you're looking to build in the future. So,
I would agree with that. When you said that it depends on what you're looking for. And whether or not it's as important. If you're not looking to raise kids, or if you're not looking to to build something. And not that single people can't build anything, but I think marriage is basically designed to raise kids. And I think that, statistics show that kids grow up in a 2-family home are better off than kids who grow up in a single home. It may not be 100%, but it's the majority. So I have a daughter. She's 3, and me and her mom's not together. And I could see when me and her mom is around each other, that is what she prefers, because she plays off of us, and so I think
she prefers. Just for clear, I'm not sure.
She prefers us being together.
Okay.
She would prefer for us to be, because when we are around, it's like, mommy, daddy, whatever. And so I think that, marriage is essential. I mean, really important when it comes to kids, because I just think they need that, or long for it when you have two parents, present. So it's tricky, because one, I don't think people approach it right. I don't think people approach it with the reality that it is. The reality is that, you know what, human beings, we're funny acting, and after a little while, we don't consciously appreciate stuff, and it's hard to appreciate something that, quite frankly, wakes up with you, next to you all the time. It's hard to continuously be able to entertain somebody that wakes up with you, right next to you every single day. And what people and people are basically entertainment junkies. A lot of times when marriages go wrong, it's because pretty much somebody gets bored, whether it be bored with spending time together, bored with the sex, or bored with something else. And it just takes a very mature person to be able to consciously understand that and live in that reality, and fight to do something to prevent it from happening. And I think a lot of times what happens is just people get burnt out with it, and they separate.
I think I'm going to use your analogy, Valencia, about the cars. I think there are some people who just want to lease cars and they never intend to marry. They never intend to buy.
Facts.
And they like leasing.
Facts.
And they're going to lease.
I'm getting married
Facts.
right away.
And then there are people who want to make, but you got to maintain your car to keep it running.
Absolutely.
Okay, like you said, getting used to, you have to do regular maintenance checks and tune-ups. Your car is just not going to keep running right if you just keep driving it in the ground.
The
and
right
not
woman,
uphill.
it's like getting a fleet of cars. She might wear a blonde wig today, and tomorrow she might have on this.
Exactly.
Or that.
She gonna put on some different rims in the winter.
So the
Yeah,
car,
She's going to do the Gabrielle Union.
I think the car comparison is not a complete parallel as far as marriage is concerned.
No, of course not. I mean, we're talking with.
I mean,
An
there's some
animate
good, there's
object,
some very good,
but
there are some very good comparisons. I mean,
It is.
It's you're using a car to get to your destination. It holds more than one person, so we in this vehicle.
We in this together. Got to run right.
Absolutely, where we headed to, and
Make the right choice with car.
The fanciest, most expensive car in the world, but you don't put gas in it. You're not
It goes
going
nowhere.
anywhere. It's the same thing. What you put into the relationship, is what you're going to get out of it. So,
And the more quality of product you're looking for, it's more maintenance. The Ferrari takes way more money to maintain than the Honda.
I don't want to live in lack, so I'm okay with
But
that.
if
And
you
that's what I'm
like
saying. I'm not
Hondas,
saying
you
there's
like
anything
Hondas,
wrong
and people
with
need to
them.
find what matches their
And exactly,
personality
and there
and
are
style.
some people who are okay, and if and here's the thing: if everybody was extraordinary, how would you measure ordinary? So there's gonna be some ordinary people. There are gonna be people that are gonna be they're okay with living on different levels of life, of finances. It's just how it goes.
I don't think a Ferrari is better than a Honda.
I didn't say it was better. I said it's more
I'm
maintenance.
just making sure we're clear. I think a Ferrari is better for me, not because it's a more expensive car or some has a better name brand, but it's just a high performance car. And I'm
That you're attracted to and you like.
I'm moving through life fast. My son is 15. I'm not looking for a woman to be his stepmother and help me raise him. So that would not be a motivation for me to get married. I'm not looking to have more children. So that wouldn't be motivation for me to get married. So again, it would be about me and that woman enriching each other's lives, not about a child or even a career or anything like that.
Keach said, love is a state of being. It is not a thing that can be dismantled. Therefore, it is not an institution, much like knowledge is not an institution as a university. Give us a minute to So if you're going for the knowledge, it doesn't matter what the institution or which university you went to if you're going for knowledge.
Like a lot of people
I feel that.
quoting the Bible, quoting the Bible, talking about marriage and all these quotes that sound good. That's not even in the Bible. Happy wife, happy life. And I think we got caught up in the marketing of marriage. I read an article a month ago where De Beers Diamonds paid TV companies in Hollywood to put marriage in TV shows more, to put marriage in movies more, to have diamonds more, to just get people to buy rings. And so a lot of people caught up in stuff because this is what they've been taught since birth, and they really haven't taken a step back and really examined.
Well, long before De Beers commercial, we were jumping the broom as slaves. We were doing something that symbolized that we had chosen who we were going to grow with, build with, even if we got separated by the slave master. There was something symbolic. So yes, it moved to diamonds. You don't have to choose the diamond. That's the thing. It's still you gonna guide how you do it. If you think it's all about the marriage, you don't want to do any of the glitz and the glamour, you find someone else who's okay with that, then that's why I say you can't judge. You see weddings on all kinds of levels because different people have different visions, understandings, or wants, desires of what the day is, and then they get judged if they go low budget. Some people get judged if some people feel like they overdo it.
So why do you buy into the ring?
I buy into it because it's a symbol. I think it's a symbol that's necessary. No, but jumping the broom is the symbol that's saying that you did the act. But to the rest of the world, you can't walk around with the broom and say, I jumped this. It is to symbolize when you are amongst the world, I am married. This ring is saying I am married. I am spoken for. You could do that if that's what you like.
Why do you buy into the diamond ring?
I like the diamonds. Like you like the Ferrari. I like the bling. It's just not because they sold it to me. It's because it's out there and it glitz and glam, and I like it.
I like the Ferrari because they sold it.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So everything based is because we sold it to me. That's why I say. But when we talk about getting married, we try to demonize it. So when it's no different from the car you wanted, is the wedding she wanted, the house you wanted, the ring she wanted, and I think we try to demonize.
Do you think we demonize marriage or the reasons why people are marrying? I think it's a little bit different. I don't think we demonize marriage.
No, I mean, I think
judge the reasons why people are choosing it may not be all for the right reasons, and not everyone, because every time I talk about something, please know, I know everybody is different and our thoughts and things are different. I don't believe you believe something and she has to believe what you believe. No, we all go off of our own experience. But I do believe some people marry for some reasons that don't work for them. Yeah. In the end, it won't work for them.
If anything, society is demonizing people who don't want to get married. I think it's actually very much so the opposite. No one is demonizing people for getting married.
So someone asked, Tucson asked, who on the panel is married or have been married, why or why not? And I guess I'll start that. I have been married. I was married 20 years. Why I got married is something I have looked back on because at the time I truly married who I love. So what made it very hard for me is to end it and to go, how did it go wrong? Because I wasn't one of those who just wanted to be married. I loved him. So I really had to look back at what was different with because I listened to you say, well, you married for wrong reasons and y'all don't do the homework. I thought I did the homework. I had one really lousy relationship. And so I thought I really did the work to find the person. And I will say I did, because I will say he is a good person. He is a good father and he is the man. But what I didn't know was myself. I didn't know what I needed. So I did what I didn't know what I needed to be loved. I was going off of what my parents did wrong. I did the checks and balances. I'm going to did this, who did this. But if I have no clue who is best for me, and I learned that 20 years later. So I didn't make the wrong decision 20 years ago. I did with what I knew best at that time. It took my marriage being over for me to analyze, what do I need? Not who is the best for me, but what makes me feel good and how do I get it? How do I look for the person who can give me what I need? How do I know what I really need? I need to really be clear with myself. What am I looking for? What makes me happy? And I don't know if I knew that or even looked to it. Because I knew I was getting a man who would be a perfect father, and he is. The man who would do this, that, to build a legacy. We have a legacy. I looked for all those things, but if I don't know who will keep a smile on my face, really know. I know who I didn't want. I just had a whole lot of what I didn't want, so I knew how not to get that. But I really didn't know what I needed and who to look for to give that to me. So I did the best what I knew how at that time. Okay.
So I've never been married, basically because I have never met anybody I thought it was a good idea to marry, so I didn't ask.
Valencia. I was married. divorce. My situation was abusive, and I knew that going in. There was a hiatus from it, so to speak, that I kind of was like, okay, he's not gonna do it anymore. And got married, and it continued. So I ultimately got the strength to leave that, and am not married anymore.
Well, why did you marry him?
I married him because I loved him. I married him because I loved him, and I had we had a child, and we had planned on doing a lot of the things that I happened with me. Is my willingness to be a submissive woman was taken. Um, I let it go too far. I did not recognize that I was submitting to controlling versus because it can seem that way. I think that's when most women battle being submissive because it's a controlling undertone. And I had somebody that just took advantage of my willingness to be submissive. There were signs prior to the wedding, the marriage. Like I said, I shouldn't have, but there was about a year or so hiatus before I got married because he had asked me a few times and I had declined.
Right.
So it wasn't until I felt like, okay, we had, made it. We were doing some counseling. We were doing all of the things that you think that you should do. But at the time, I loved him. I wanted to build with him. We had goals.
Do you feel you're wrong for that choice?
That
you made the wrong choice and didn't do enough homework?
Yes, absolutely. I shouldn't have got married. I should not have gotten married. I should not have gotten married. I wish that I had the strength to recognize and not get into the cycle. I think I was more so wanting to keep my secret to protect my family because I know I had people in my family. If I had exposed everything I was going through, something would have happened and I would have felt guilt. Whether he would have got killed, somebody in my family would have went to jail. And
we're going to talk about that today. We're going to be talking about domestic violence. So we will
get back there. So that's definitely
and
why
I want to say, well, let me mention what Keish brings up. And then Yatu, I think because you're on the show every week, I think we kind of know why you, I don't know, but I'm gonna let him talk about it in a second. Let me bring up Keish, what she said. People demonize marriage because so many get married and bastardize the institution, which gives a negative perception. And I do believe that's true because I read so much sometimes about cheating. Mm-hmm. And we have this group, He Said, She Said, on Facebook. Please join the group. And we talk about this so much that you think it really does make me think, why do people get married? There's so many people. If all we can talk about 24/7 is cheating on people. Like, what is the point? And I will say that sometimes it makes the institution have a negative perception for me more and more when I don't see the value. I don't see a lot of people talking positively about it, and I do think that enters my psyche a lot.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of people talking positive about it either.
Anytime somebody does try to take a stab at being positive, we are so ready to tell them they don't have what they think they have, or anybody, then you get the memes, anybody that's putting up their relationship, it ain't real, it ain't this, or they advertising it's fake. When people try to put out the good story, we're so quick to look for that it's not as good as they're saying it is. We won't even embrace it. We're so brainwashed that you have to have all this drama via TV, movies, radio, your mama, your grandmama, the families that you see, no men, nowhere in sight. There's 6 generations of women passing on negativity down. And so the men that they're being toxic to, now they're passing down about the women that they have met, and we keep passing it on, and we won't embrace the positive. We when someone has a fairy tale story, we tell them it's just them. You lucked up. We don't embrace the story, so it doesn't get out.
I'm not actually talking about what I see on Facebook because I've never paid much attention to anybody's relationship on any kind of media. But I'm talking about when I speak to people who are married, who have been married for a while, who, on the outside looking in, you may think, they have a marriage because of, how long they've been married or whatever. Not a lot of people speak about it glowingly. Now, I do know people who are married who wouldn't choose not to be married. But just when you get into the, nooks and crannies of the conversation, it doesn't sound like it's fun. And I think, which is the reason why a lot of people mess it up, because I think in our heads, we fantasized it to the point where it's supposed to be fun, or it's supposed to be something. This, great feeling. You walking in the house and you're supposed to have butterflies. And so when you don't have it, it's like, oh my God, what happened? So.
But why don't we have it?
Why don't we have what?
What, the butterflies? Because we keep telling people the butterflies are a myth. So then it's when we don't have them, we like, well, where are the butterflies? But then when somebody say, oh, I got butterflies, we like, okay, that's gonna go away, or it doesn't exact. It's like we don't embrace the butter. We don't teach our kids that you will have those butterflies. We're telling them that's like if you tell your kids
that experience,
and we have had it. That's what I'm saying. But we don't say that that's what you need to be looking for. We brush over the butterfly in your gut experience. We don't share that. We don't say that this is what you're supposed to feel. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I do think there are people who've had butterflies and it goes wrong, and then they get jaded to the butterflies. So now it's teaching how to know how to, because butterflies you can get from the wrong person too.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think it's their bad experiences that sometimes don't make them love again. I mean, carrying a lot of baggage sometimes makes people not believe that your fantasy can be true because they haven't experienced it, they haven't seen it, they don't know anyone talking about it, or really
they heard
loving
something like it and it didn't pan out the same.
So to believe in love, you really have to almost start fresh with a clean heart and not hold so much baggage or other people's baggage. But that's sometimes when I say I need to get off Facebook, because I swear, or get off. But and Facebook is just not real. I do know people, some, I won't even say some, I know a few, who put out a very, and their real story, what I see on Facebook. And it's not that I believe they're lying. I know their real story.
Right.
And I know you got 6 men.
Yes,
and you got 6 women.
Yes.
And I know every picture y'all hugged up. So unfortunately, that then jades you a bit like, dang, is any of this real? Because now y'all look so happy. And I know she got a dude over here. I mean, it makes you, we are jaded. I mean, we are jaded, and it's hard not to, because there's so few examples, or you say it's because they're not speaking on their good examples. And so please share your positive love, because I do need to see it. I know I want to see it.
Well, I think people should not allow other people to discourage them. Like,
that's
honestly,
true. I agree.
I agree. 100 with everybody.
Yes.
And watching and everybody on the panel.
Yes.
I think marriage can be the most magnificent thing on earth. I think mine will be the most magnificent thing on earth, or I'm not going to do it. That my intuition is great, my level of discernment is great. I'm at an age and a place in my life where I know myself very well, so I can size up the situation and know whether or not it's for me or not. And so there are some great marriages out here. I don't think if somebody has a great marriage that is fluff, or that if somebody's relationship is starting off good, that it's destined to be doomed or to end. I'm not a fan of getting married out of obligation. I'm not a fan of forced monogamy. I'm a fan of things that come together organically, things that are meant to be, things that are healthy, things that are strong. And I only speak about that because I see people participating in forced monogamy. I see people trying to force the marriage thing down people's throat. Let it unfold the way it's supposed to unfold. But I could care less what the divorce rate is. That doesn't apply to me. I could care less if everybody else's marriage was 100% successful. That doesn't apply to me. God made everybody different. And so everybody's approach, what everybody gets out of it, is going to be different. I'm a fan of people customizing it. And that's my problem, when people try to generalize it and make it for everybody, or make this type of marriage for everybody and things of that nature, when these people aren't like you. They don't use the same toothpaste as you, the same toothbrush, deodorant, everything about their life is different. And yet we want it all to be uniform and the same. Toussaint spoke about something I said. He said a symbol that speaks externally while love is internal. Even the house car analogy is also transactional. The Ferrari represents something different than the Honda, but only externally. They both drive. So what's the value of the Ferrari more? So what I mean by that is a Ferrari is designed for high performance. So if both of you ladies dance on a nightly basis, so your bodies are in shape and prepared for that. Your legs, the average person, if they try to go out and step like you every night and they haven't been doing it for 5 or 6 years, they're going to be sore, right? Well, y'all able to do it no problem. And so that's what I mean by it. It's not about that Ferrari symbol or that price tag or anything. Is that I'm looking to perform in life at a high level. And so I want a marriage that is designed and conducive for me to do that. Why? Because I was in a relationship that was trying to force me to be a Honda, and it was slowing down.
That's because you're a Ferrari, but I think if you're a Ferrari, then you like Ferraris. But kind of what he's saying is a car is a car. The makings, yes, it may be high performing. You can have a high performing Honda. Maybe the Honda went and got some, who knows? But you can be a high performing Honda. And I like Hondas because I don't feel like maintaining a Ferrari. So give me a Honda. I'm not going to do I don't need to go fast. I just think we get where we are, but he says you value it more because of the outside world. And I don't think you necessarily was saying it's because that defines preference, right?
Absolutely.
What's the difference of preferring? He prefers a Ferrari. I don't even know what it looks like. I have no clue what a Ferrari looks. If I saw one on the street, somebody have to say that's a Ferrari. And I go, oh, it is? Okay. And I probably would only think it has value because somebody told me it had value. I really wouldn't know for Ferrari. So if you said it had high performance, I'm like, oh, okay. But it really wouldn't mean too much to me.
Let's just talk about people. Like the average person goes to work 5 days a week and they stay at that job for 40 hours. And they probably could get that job done in 20 hours, 3 days a week. But because the job requires them to come for 40 hours, they slow down and they spread it out and they take their time. I remember being a young person and taking a temporary job, and we were just stuffing envelopes. And they would, after 2 hours, they tapped me like, man, you stuffing them envelopes way too fast. They gonna send us home at 12 o'clock if you don't stretch this out to 4 o'clock. And a lot of people don't realize that crosses over to the whole rest of their life, that they've been taught to slow down, to spread it out, to basically waste time. And so that's definitely not what I'm looking at. To me, time is worth more than almost anything. That's the only thing that you can't get back. And so I don't want to waste a minute, a second, a day, or anything. And I definitely don't want to deliberately stretch it out or dumb myself down or dumb my life down because that's what I've been taught to do. And so that's the only reason why I use that car analogy. But there's nothing wrong with Honda. If I was looking to build a family right now, I would want that reliable car that isn't a gas guzzler, that isn't high maintenance. It's just what you want out of life right now that makes it fit for you.
Not too. I am so happy you went and clarified that.
Every time
because
in Yatsu.
I'm sorry.
I know it doesn't matter, but I'm texting me a month ago. What is he? Okay.
So I'm glad you clarified, because that was the understanding I was getting from the analogy, was that you were basically saying you don't want to waste time. You don't want to live like a mediocre life like most people live. That's what I was getting from it. But they kept, okay, all right, because they kept referencing the car like.
No, I got that, but I was just saying it. But we can't. Right. But just as that Ferrari is his preference, he should not be judging if a woman wants a marriage or if she wants a diamond. I'm saying it's all in what people prefer. It's when we start to try to make one subject where it's trivial, and in this one it's okay for you to have a preference. I think people have a preference all the way across the board, and whether they prefer to be married or not, either side should not be demonized. When you're trying to say why you're going to get married, you shouldn't have to demonize those that don't. But when you don't want to get married, don't demonize the entity of marriage and make it seem like it's worthless, and this is why you're on the side of not getting married.
Anna Nicole said, that's immaturity. Nothing you do every day is fun. My job isn't fun every day. Being a mother isn't fun every day. You persevere when you value something.
She was responding to you saying,
the no fun. That comment.
Yeah.
So Keish said, I'm proud our marriage is a model of healthy love we have set for our children. I believe it will influence several generations in our family, much like wealth building strategies. Tu said, love is a verb. It doesn't mean anything if there is no actions attached to those words. And I do believe all that to be true. You've been listening to IntellectualRadio.com and the He Says, She Says show. We're every Sunday at 2 o'clock, and we've been talking about a variety of things, but we are going to keep it moving in this topic. We're going to transition into something you mentioned, Val, and you mentioned when we were talking marriage that what came up in your marriage was domestic violence. Yeah. And It's Domestic Violence Month, is it?
It is
Okay.
October. Unfortunately, it's ran right along with breast cancer. That kind of gets more awareness, but it is the same. So pink is for breast cancer and purple is for domestic violence in October.
So as we speak about that, what I hear a lot of people say is, I don't know why why she stayed, or I wouldn't have put up with that, and for all our people who, and also when we talked about marrying for love, and I think you say, and I'm not sure we talked, so did you say that you knew he was abusive when you married him?
Yes, he was abusive, but then there was that period of, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it anymore. And when it lasted for over a year, I'm thinking, okay, he's not going to do it anymore, because he had asked to marry me 3 times prior to when I actually said yes, because I was like, no, I can't do it under these conditions. So I had told myself it's been a year, and to some, a year might be like, that was it. But in my life, that was a long time to go without it. So yes, I'm thinking he was, really gonna do it this time.
But do abusers, do they groom you? Like that's the part, is to act like they're gonna do better. They do something, say they're going to do better this time. And domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship.
Yes.
So how do they get, again, and I'm going to ask some questions that really sound ignorant. Why? Because I'm ignorant to this topic.
Please ask.
Because I really, sometimes you wonder this.
Please
if
ask.
You've never experienced it, sometimes on the outside, you think to yourself, how come this? Why didn't they do this? So I'm going to ask you questions that I sometimes think. And I have talked to, and if anyone needs someone who, Jodine Basterdash is an excellent person to go to with domestic violence. She is an advocate. She's constantly out here speaking. She is a survivor and can really help you. And I've had to call her for friends. When people have come to me with questions on what to do, they've been hurt. And I knew I didn't have the knowledge to tell them what to do, and you can speak from, but when you really want someone to get help. So Jodine Basterdash, I'm going to encourage anyone who may know someone suffering, who needs help. And I've been told by Jodine that it takes people up to 7 occurrences before they leave, and they will ask you for help. And I've been that friend at one point in time who said, okay, I'm just done dealing with her, because she keeps pulling me into her drama. And I just thought I removed myself. And she said, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do. The best thing you can do is be there for her.
Yes.
She asked me to document everything she told me, keep every picture she ever gave me, because she may not be able to get them to me again, and help her build her case if ever it came to that. So I'm going to implore you to find her on any form of social media, Jodine Basterdash, and I'll look up her information as we speak to give it to you. But so back to those questions, and I've gone to her with these questions because I've had friends who come to me, and this is something I've never experienced. So when they say I'm sorry and it won't happen again, what makes that person go back?
Well, the thing of it is that as mean as they are, they're just as sweet. They're just as convincing. They already know how to pull your strings, what it is that you need and what it is that you're lacking. So this is the piece that you have to be transparent about, that there is something lacking in a person that finds themselves in this situation. And so when they are being persuasive, because you got to realize the woman, or I'm gonna try to not to say the woman, although it has been traditional that it has been the woman in that position. We do have men that suffer as well. So the person that is being abused, they are the ones that are in love in their mind. So you're talking to someone who thinks that they're in love, and they have these other reasons. And I want to make this quick connection, because I know we're going in this way, but I think it kind of opens people's minds up a little bit more. So with this thing that happened on Facebook, the whole hashtag Me Too.
And
right?
I would like to
and we're going to go into that, but I think I
harassment.
just want to open the mind up really quick, because it was very astounding, the number of posts that we got from men that was like, oh my God, I never thought of this. Like, this is really happening. And it's the same thing. Why did those women wait to this hashtag to speak out? They're at their job. They need their money. Their stability would be off. They can't care for their children. And now we have the understanding for these women that came out and said hashtag me too, but we have the same questions for women and men that stay in abusive situations. Same reason.
It's the same reason.
Same dynamics. It's even worse because now I love you. I don't love my boss, but I dang sure need my job for my bills, my children, my lifestyle, especially as women that are out here
So that
single.
power.
So that whole power thing, you're staying because you need something from that. So this is an extension of that. This is that same mindset that you are in this situation with these conditions that you're choosing, or the conditions are better to stay than to go because of the fear to go. Why won't you leave that job? You could find another job, but that fear of being without that job until I find the next job, will it have the right benefits? What about my child's daycare? Those are the same things that go in the mindset of a person that stays in a domestic violence situation.
Guys, are men victims of domestic violence as well? Do you know of any?
Let me say, I learned that domestic violence comes in many forms. There's like a pie chart. Domestic violence is keeping a child away from someone, man or woman. Domestic violence is, or emotional abuse is, threatening to put somebody out of the house on a regular basis, using money. So there are lots of types of
abusive patterns of behavior.
Yeah, I don't like that I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't like that they're lumping all of that now under that. Those are things that we can put that under, but I really disagree as a person. Now the emotional, the physical, and the mental all are part of it. But when we start to saying now that keeping a child from somebody is domestic, to me, we're starting to cloudy up, and we're starting to open it up a little too far.
Have you ever had a child kept from you? That's why you see one as different.
It's an issue, but it's not domestic violence.
Yeah. What? I would much rather you punch me in my eye than keep my son away from me for 5 years. Beat me up for a year, please, as opposed to keeping my son away from me. So, and it's a touchy subject, and so I don't want to say whose thing is more powerful or what's more harmful. I just learned again that there are different types, and people are, because of that, sometimes unaware that they're in abusive relationships. So my approach, and what I would advise my son to pay attention to moving forward as a man in this world, is that there are going to be certain people who not only know how to push your buttons, but will demonstrate that they are willing to press your buttons like crazy. And when you bump into that person, get away from them right away, before they bring something out of you that you don't want them.
Okay, but I think, but see, that's the thing that I don't think we should say, get away from they bring something out of you, because that's what we need to learn, the life skills, that there should be nothing in you that someone can bring out of you to make you do those things, in those things. And in my situation, some of them were not even situations that it happened on the fly, where you could say, okay, yeah, that happened, and maybe I wasn't thinking really quick. There were things that I'm like, no, you premeditated this ass whooping. There's no way in the world that this was something that happened off the fly. So, and yeah, we have somebody else saying that they agree that different categories don't always fit into domestic violence, and not that I'm minimizing at all the damage that happens from mothers who play the games with their children. I just don't think that is what, and we, as we continue, it's almost like, if we water down and say, okay, we're doing breast cancer, but okay, we're not talking about this. That just seems like a pile on to me. That is a very serious thing, and it needs its own platform. Same way domestic violence needs its own platform outside of October being shared with breast cancer. They're all good things, and we need to battle them all, but it just needs its own platform, and I just don't want to minimize. Like I said,
it sounds like the Black Lives Matter, all lives matter.
Yes, it's like, exactly.
Idea.
It's like, don't water down this thing. If you have a platform, then make your platform, but don't throw it under the umbrella of something else that is about like some real tear you down, like there's some pain from being separated from your child, but when you're being broken down to your very like where you can't. I'm not saying that you're not being broken.
Are saying. I'm not
just saying.
Don't be unaware.
No,
maybe that's not what you mean.
But okay, let me complete what I'm saying. There's a difference, and I'm gonna stand on this. What I'm getting ready to say. There is a difference between when you're gonna say domestic violence, and we're talking about being beat down. We're talking about not being able to have the freedom to do anything. That we have had long-standing custody battles, nasty, drawn out, and that's what that is. That is nasty. It's not right. It tears families apart. It brainwashes children to look at their parents differently, but it doesn't make that parent that cannot get to their child not be able to go on with their life and not have their job and have to hide from their job because of the bruises, because of the mental anguish. You're
just because you don't see bruises,
you don't know what you're talking about.
Don't necessarily mean
but what I'm saying is, let's not put that on a life-threatening situation. A custody battle is not a life-threatening situation that people under domestic violence have to deal with. It is now, if your child is being abused, then now we have an abusive domestic violence situation. But if we cannot, it needs its own platform, and it's not the same. It's not the
what
same.
Say you over
again, if you have a child taken away from you, then you can speak intelligently and from a place of experience about what it is and what it isn't. Now you can talk.
And if you were being abused, then you would see how you don't want things to be mushed together. Same as Black Lives Matter. We're talking about police shooting down. Let's talk about disrespecting the flag when that's the topic. Let's not bring it up when we're talking about kneeling for Black people getting shot in the street. And that's all. I'm not minimizing it, but it feels like the platform of domestic violence is being minimized. That's what I'm saying.
Well, how is it being minimized?
Because that is not what it. When we always say domestic violence, now we have broadened the meaning. But let's be real: has it or has it not always been a part of domestic violence? Children and their parents not being able to see their parents. It's not. I'm not making that up. That's something we are putting under the umbrella.
They didn't always say that cigarettes cause cancer, but it was always
cancer. They always knew it was causing something, but we're not gonna name cancer multiple sclerosis either.
So all right, I guess it matters on whether if it's domestic violence is, I guess you would say violence would be punching, hitting, whatever, or domestic abuse. Now, as far as the question you had asked to the men, I know men who have experienced being verbally abused, emotional abuse in their relationships. I don't know of any men who have experienced violence per se. So, guys, I've seen a guy where his wife was, cheating on him, talking down to him, those type of things.
Cheating is domestic violence.
Well, it's domestic abuse. I'm just saying abuse. It's not violence.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it's not violence.
That's minimizing it to me to start.
Well, okay. So if we're gonna just speak about
domestic, let other people talk.
If we're just speaking about violence, then let's just speak about punching, hitting, or something like that. I can address that too. Then we can just address that point of it. But if we're talking about domestic abuse, if we're talking about emotional, because before emotional wasn't put in with the violence part of it, but everybody is still kind of relevant. Now, I'm just going to say this. I do know, I have seen a guy who kids were taken from him. And if you ask me, it led to his death because he was so depressed about it. He was drinking and he stayed drinking and it led to his death. I do know this. If somebody was able to take my daughter, that it would seriously affect me. So while I wouldn't consider it violence against me, I would definitely consider it abuse of a high, because there is nothing in your life that is more important than your child. So I could agree that is not violence, but I would think that I think you could put it under abuse or emotional abuse, or however you want. But I wouldn't go with it as violence, because it's not somebody punching me in my eye. But I could agree with Naya too when he says I would rather somebody punch me than to have my baby taken away from me. I will
get that, but that's still minimizing that punch to the eye, and that's what I'm saying. When you say that, you would rather have this than that.
It's not minimizing the punch to the eye. It's asking you. It's basically
asking to include some other stuff.
You're not minimizing. You're the only one minimizing at the church. You're minimizing what happened. No one is bringing down the punch. No one's bringing down the punch. We're uplifting the other types of abuse too, so that people are aware. But no one's saying that a punch in the eye is not bad, or saying anything about it that is cool or anything like that. But to stick with the topic, I watched a woman attack a man. She punched him, then she tackled him. They both fell down the stairs. He broke his foot. She called the police. They came. They arrested him. He eventually beat it in court, but she physically assaulted him, caused him to break his foot, and he was the one arrested behind it.
And that's the sad thing that men definitely do. I've seen men be victims of it, and that's when I get very angry at the women who play that game. I think I'm angry more at them than anybody else. The fake police callers, the fake people who are calling and saying somebody, the ones who are bashing their own heads up against the wall to call the police on a man. Those are the people who are helping to minimize the women who have the real cause. I worked with a young lady, and I worked hand in hand on getting her transferred out of the store because she was a victim. And it was so sad to see him come, and he's walking past the windows and he's looking at her and angry because she's talking to a customer who happens to be a man. And so when all of those things are going in your every moment. This is why I say the minimization, because that's every moment. Somebody's wondering if they're going to even be alive. Not if you're going to see your child that's alive or you're alive, but if you're even going to be alive every moment. That is what I'm saying. Don't minimize that, because that's real. So don't make the fake phone calls and talking about, oh, he hit me or this and that. And I had a young gentleman show up to work the other day, face swollen. And I got on him. You better call the police on her. You are not a punk for calling the police on a woman for putting their hands on you.
You gave him bad advice.
I'm giving bad advice?
You gave him
to call the police?
Yes, because when the police show up, they're not going to treat it like that.
If he does what he's supposed to do, if you
How much experience do you have with this?
I have
police coming.
If the police comes and if your face is swollen and you have not, I've seen just as much experience as you have. I've seen people go to jail. Okay, my father called the police on my mother. So if we want to know about experience, I'll tell you about my experience. My mother threw an ashtray at my father. And he said, you know what? I'm not going there. I'm not going to be the one. You know what? My mom spent the night in jail. I had to go get the ID. So I know it works. If you call and you didn't do it and she's not bruised when you get there and it don't look like you flipping the script, he's going to jail. She's going to jail. So like I told him, the way his face was, if you didn't have no bruises, like you didn't touch her and they show up and this is your face, and you're keeping documentation, I'm telling him the same thing I would tell a female. Keep your documentation. Take your pictures. Call the police. Go to the court the next morning and get your restraining order. They're going to give it to you until your court date. Then you have to prove that you need it beyond that. So bad advice, no, I would totally disagree that was bad advice.
Okay, because again, you're talking about one situation. So statistically, this is coming from 911. Statistically, 90% of the time when the police are called, the man is arrested no matter what is said or done before they got there, period. But 90% of the time when the police show up, they arrest the man no matter who dialed 911 or no matter who's bruised.
Likelihood, or I don't know the number, so I don't even want to put this out there because I have not looked this up, but is it more than likely the woman is the one being abused the majority of the times they're called? Is that what makes that 90% what it is? Is because
already a bias
victim
on the
is
way
more.
But it's across the board. So 90% of the time when a man, this is across the board. So the 90% of the time when a man calls the police to say he was abused, the man is still
arrested is what he's saying.
So it might be a smaller percentage of that greater 90%, but in that demographic, it's still, the percentage still applies. 90% of the time, it's still the man who gets arrested.
But who calls? He's saying
the man is calling, and when the man calls to say he's been abused, 90% of the time he's still arrested. The one thing that I wanted to be clear.
Why do you think that?
The one thing I wanted to be clear is that I'm not minimizing the fear of your life, of having that fear. So I just want to be clear. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just merely saying I think that somebody taking a child is serious, but I think they should. But I wouldn't consider it violent. So.
If the definition of domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship, that's abusive behavior. But I think nobody wants to minimize anyone's feelings because we don't know how it feels. I know I don't know how it feels to be in either situation. I can only imagine, and that's probably not enough. But I would like anyone who is going through this or wants to talk to someone about this to contact Jodine Bastard-Dash. She is a domestic violence survivor, an advocate, an author, an empowerment speaker, and a facilitator. She says, speak your piece against domestic violence, and you can reach her at Jodine Bastard-Dash. That's BASTERASH.com or adoretoempower.org. She's on Facebook, Speak Your Piece. You can also find Jodine on Bastard-Dash on Facebook, and I had never met her before, but got in her inbox when I had someone come to me, and she sent me pictures of her body, and her husband had hit her, and I said, I don't know what to do. I have no clue, but I've seen you on Facebook, and I know this is what you do, so tell me what to do right now to help her, because I have and she immediately got back to me and said, do this, help her get safe. The woman went back to him maybe 3 or 4 times. Years went by, 4 or 5 years. But with the help of Jodine, every year that she came back, she disappeared for a while. I wouldn't know if she was alive or dead. She disappeared, get off Facebook. Her numbers had changed. And Jodine would ask me what's going on with her. And I said, I've lost total contact. But through it all, Jodine was always, if I came to her and said she's back, she's inboxed me and asked me to meet her. She's like, don't meet her by yourself. You need to do this, do this to cover yourself, to make sure, because they could hurt you. She's just been excellent with helping me through those situations. So please reach out. But someone said something on Facebook that has bothered me. Ever since I read this comment bothers the whoopie-joobies out of me. He said, some women like getting their ass whipped and never understand why. Is he...
Who said that?
I don't want to give his name out because he sounds so. I want to almost protect his Andre Hodges. Maybe you can explain yourself. Some women like getting their ass whipped.
Well, that is that's really like well, I tell you what gives people the perception that it's that because they like to say that because there are some women who approach with the whole drama effect. They run up on the guy looking for the fight, actually looking for the physical fight. But what they don't understand, and they're not going past the look. And so when they match up with another sick person who has seen this happen, they think that that's how they're supposed to interact. What she's looking for from that situation is the attention, or either she's trying to be the aggressor, not to be the one that gets it put on her. And she's learned these things unhealthy, in a very unhealthy way. She's been a victim to that. So I'm gonna try to lean toward he means that,
okay,
and not that he's speaking it from abusive side. I'm gonna take it from the positive side. I'm gonna take it that there are women out here that will run up and they want that drama. They want the drama. And then you have some men that think that validates them as a man. And so then they go back and forth and they got this whole messy nonsense.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So, Naitu, and all the men listening. So you are, because this came up in the group that I'm in some months back. You are out and you are witnessing a domestic violence situation. A man and a woman is about to fight. You don't know them. Do you interfere? Yes or no?
Probably not. Probably not. I've seen that. I did intervene as a young person, and by the time the police got there, me and him both was gonna get arrested. She still loved that dude, and she would start like taking up for him verbally. So although a part of me really does want to intervene in some type of way, whether it's call the police or step in myself when I see that, because unfortunately I see it a lot. 3 weeks ago, I saw a guy that he was in the car with the girl. She was driving, he was punching her, and she was looking at me, and I'm like, ugh. Driving down the street 2 months ago, this summer, same thing. Guy punching a woman in the face like she was a dude, and it for literally, seriously, for real, hurt my spirit. And I called the police and sent them over there, but I kept going because when you get entangled in that, you don't know what's going to come of that, unfortunately.
And that's what leaves the women in these situations, and that's what going back to Lakeisha saying, what are some of the solutions, is that we don't have enough people to get involved. It's almost like we get to the point where the excuse becomes, well, I'm not getting involved, she's gonna go back or whatever. But we have a different understanding about it when we put it in the terms of a kidnapped person who we don't know why they're protecting the person who kidnapped them and have kept them in this basement, and we're still trying to understand that psyche. I'm just saying, put that same sympathy and understanding towards this person, because this person is not well. They're not well. This person has been manipulated. They have been torn down. They have been made dependent, whether it is a physical dependency, a financial dependency, a mental dependency, whatever it is. They do not need to be out there alone. When you hear your neighbor over there getting slammed up across the wall, call the police. Call them 500 times. If you have to call 500 times, call 500 times. If you know your boy just came over and you know he whooping on this girl, say something to your boy. Alienate yourself from that type of person. But we don't make these people feel like they're wrong in our society. They have a place to go. They're families that know they whooping on they wives. They don't want the wives to call the police. They sheltering them. They helping them. They enabling them. So trust me, the woman or the person that's being abused is not the only enabler that's making that relationship go on and on. It's the neighbors, it's the teachers that see you, it's the co-workers, it's the boss. I had a boss pull me to the side. She was like, no, we're not gonna do this. You come to work again with another black something, we're doing something. I had to prioritize my job at that point. So now I need to call the police. I need to do something because I need my job. But I needed somebody to step in and say, no, you can't keep doing this. But if everybody give up, and like I said, and I didn't share lots of stuff that was going on, because I knew if this uncle or that cousin found out, I'm responsible now for them going to jail, because I'm blaming myself. I'm calling myself stupid already. You know?
Jodine mentioned to me when I was dealing with this issue that I really was like, I'm done. I've tried to help so many times. I had lined up the shelter. I had done everything. And then she was back, and she said the one thing that she said that's not the best thing to do. And that took a lot to stay. She said she's coming to you because you are outside of her family. Because I was like, I'm not even this close to this girl. Why is she talking to me? I mean, why am I getting this involved? I don't know her like that. And she said that is exactly why she's coming to you, because you knowing won't get back to her cousin or auntie. Her family won't know because you don't know them. So that's why she's reaching out to you and be there. And I got scared because a lot of times I felt I was putting myself at risk. And it really took, and that's why I really hope people reach out to her saying, no, you have to stay there. She needs you right now. This is the biggest thing you can do for her right now, is to stay and don't run away, because it's very easy to run. it's very easy to walk away, because usually we do feel ourselves being pulled into something that may hurt us, really do, but then protecting ourselves. So if you're going to jump in a situation, you call the police for you. I'm about to jump into this situation. I think we really have to, and it's not easy. I'm not going to say any of this is easy, because being that person on the outside to help someone in this is so much easier to just leave the drama. So, and I think it's hard. So I think we need help. We need help to know the language. Us people who want to help those people need to know how, because I didn't know how. But I now have other people who come to me with this situation. I know what to do in this situation now, because Jodine has helped me with that. So please, her number is 708-238-7689, 708-238-7689, Jodine Baxter - check out her website, Jodine Baxter Basterash. Let me spell it for you. BASTERASH.com. She can really help you. You can inbox her and say, my friend is this, or this is happening, and she will get back to you and say, right now, do this. She knows the steps. I'm not going to sit and say, I know Keish said our solutions. Jodine was busy this weekend. She was scheduled to come in today, and I didn't want to change it because it was already what we were going to discuss next week was already planned. So in October was the month. So she couldn't be here today. But please reach out to her. If you have a question on how to deal with someone you love who is going through this, please reach out to her. So sexual harassment, and I think it piggybacks into this, and with the Harvey Weinstein, I'm not sure what his situation, and it comes up with that too. Why are they silent? Why do they not talk about it? And years later, they come out with this. Another thing I often wonder, but I think some of the reasonings, I think you mentioned this, Valencia, may be the same: power and fear. That person has power over you having a job, over you getting the next job, and that power and fear. And what can we do to make that conversation easier? How do we make it easier for people not to be the Me Too and they're coming out 20 years later or 15 years later? How does that happen? That the Me Too's can come out, that fear. How do we solve that issue or work towards it? Because if it could be solved, this world would be a better place.
Courage can be contagious. So you do something brave, and someone sees you do that brave thing, and now they start to feel a little more brave, and so they say me too, and then somebody sees that person, and it turns into a domino effect. But when the culture is silenced, and the culture is you'll be ostracized and blackballed from the industry. I mean, unfortunately, in Hollywood and the entertainment industry, he's one of 100 that do this, and not just to women, kids, grown men. That this is the culture, and they don't want to talk about that. In fact, Corey Feldman did an interview with Barbara Walters, and when he started screaming on people, she said, "You're destroying the industry." She discouraged him, and I thought she was a woman who was always trying to interview and look for the truth. But when he started to say, "No, it's a lot of producers in Hollywood," she was like, "You can't do that." And so this is a real problem that I can't even remember the guy's name before Harvey Weinstein, but he got caught with kids. He did like a year and a half, and he back working for DreamWorks right now.
Is that Roman Polanski? Or
I want to say that might be his name. But just the people who feel brave enough, they have to speak up. And then when you see people doing that, if it inspires you to speak up, do so. And that's why I try to put up a post taking up for that and encouraging that, because I know as a society, and sometimes as men, a lot of times we can dismiss it, discourage it, ridicule it, make it out to be funny, and unfortunately it's not. I found myself apologizing to somebody after seeing the Me Too post, that a woman who I used to have romantic dealings with, I saw her a year later, whatever, and I patted her on the butt, because I still was attracted to her, but I had no way of reading her mind to know that she was still attracted to me. And thank God it turned out that it wasn't really a problem, but I see how it could have been a problem. That a lot of guys, I was at the house picnic a couple of summers ago, and it was this group of guys, they were all over 6 feet, all big guys. Every group of women that walked by, they would just grab them. I mean, literally just don't know them from Adam, just grabbing them. And I was like, who taught you this? Like, what? After maybe 3 or 4 women, I said something to them. I'm like, man, what are y'all doing, bro? Like, for real, who taught you that? Who taught you to just grab? Like, if my mother walked past here, or my sister or my niece walked by here, and you grab them or something, it would be some bloodshed. in this picnic right now.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the thing though, and that's why I think the piggyback what he said. I mean, it's one thing for the people who are being victimized to speak up. I think it has to be bigger than that. I think we need to be the ones who know that, these people are doing that. We need to shame them. There is no shame attached to the actions. We are not in the boardroom saying no. We in the boardroom high-fiving. We're not in the locker rooms saying no. We're in the locker rooms high-fiving. And so I think it's like a common theme over the last couple of weeks. I think we bumped heads again on another where it came up and we were on a topic and he said, she said, and you asked me my opinion. I said, you basically said it. The piece we're missing is, when are we going to start to have those conversations that need to be said amongst the same sex? There are conversations that men need to be having with men. Men are not going to listen to me in the boardroom saying, stop grabbing on my skirt. Stop looking at my chest. Stop valuing me as a woman in here. We can scream to the top of our, it's going to take the men that need to stand up against the man, say that's not what men do. That's not how we treat our women.
So kind of piggyback off my man. Look, it's sexual, anything with sex, especially as it pertains to women, is always marginalized. Simply because of the culture of being a man and our manhood being wrapped around sex to a degree. It's basically like when you're younger, you're almost conditioned to believe you're supposed to be having sex with anybody you find attractive or anybody maybe you don't. It's like, and so I think because of that, it has grown into, if you don't have a certain temperament, if you don't have a certain perspective, it's kind of like get it at all cost. And because of that culture, it almost excuses get it out at all costs, because it's almost like an understanding. And I think that men, we don't challenge each other enough when it comes to that, because like Naya too said, most guys I know, if not all guys I know, have grabbed the girl on the booty when they probably shouldn't have been, or who've seen the ex or whatever and did a little something when they probably shouldn't have done. And you might still be there, she might not be there, or has said some things about a woman, or have looked or have done things you probably shouldn't have, and because it didn't go as far as this Harvey dude, you think that you're good. Right. But we don't understand that is the root that grows that type of tree or that type of fruit, is the fact that we are like that, and that there are men who think that that's cool. I will never forget this time. I was out and I was hanging out with this girl that I was dating, and she knew some guys who were at the place, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to these guys, and these guys are strangers to me, and these guys started telling me basically how they put something in girls' drink in order to have sex, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, you're telling me this like you think that's cool. And to just be able to just sit there and say that to a stranger, because I'm a male, it's kind of like, a white guy, talking to another white guy who thinks he's racist because he's racist and says, those, ends or whatever, this is that. It's like that. And I think that, as men, we need to challenge that a little bit more. But I will also say this: if you are the only man speaking, you get clowned. You will get clowned, and like you could be in the group and have a conversation or having going back and forth. If you speak up for women, if you either gay or you just trying to get some, or you trying to do this or you trying to do that, you get clowned, and you have to basically just take it. But you do get clowned.
And that's what Stezo is saying. It's a sign of weakness or being a punk for a man to stand up or speak out in a room full of men, and I think that's sad. And I think that is why we have all of the issues that we're having, because we so quick, like we said, we still have not gotten to the one thing or one post yet since still talking about men and how they're supposed to behave. But we got numerous telling women what they should do, shouldn't do, speak up, speak out, get out, do this, do that. And no, the men aren't, they're saying it. They're not even comfortable going to their fellow men. Why? And let's leave women out of it. There's a problem with that.
Well, that's not the only narrative. Tucson is definitely saying nobody around him does it. Nobody around me is doing it. I was going to a barbershop. I heard men that I didn't know saying things that made me look at them and say, "You a rapist or you a child molester." I said something to the barber because these are their clients. This is how they make money. And I basically set it up.
But you are rare, though. You're very rare. Like, your post was so profound, but everybody's not going to do that. We need more of that.
I agree. But I don't want to pat her on the back for it, because probably if that woman who I pat on the butt had said something to me in that moment, I probably would have thought she was being petty or maybe overreacting. I saw the post and I saw the movement at the right time. And plus, I've talked to a lot of women and I asked engaging questions. And out of thousands of women that I've talked to, I can only count on one hand, two hands, 10 women who I know that haven't been sexually abused in some type of way at some point in their life. This is what is happening to most Black women out there, period.
Because I've been kind of up on this for a while now, because of the fact that I have a lot of friends who are women. And when you've had the conversation and you find out how many women who have either been molested, sexually harassed, raped, or have at least rape has been attempted on them, it becomes the vast majority of them. When you listen to like some of your best friends tell you that basically, I just go to work and I just accept that that's what it is, and that's, how it's going to be, and I just keep it moving. It starts to, it starts to mess with you. And that is, part of the reason why, if you see me speak in the public, on Facebook or whatever, I don't go at women hard, because of the things that I've been told, whether it just be behavior that people may deem is not respectable or whatever. I never go at women hard because of the fact that I know that this woman probably could have experienced something in her life that made her feel this way, that made her feel like, she's not valued, and she has been sexualized since she was, 5, 6, 7, 8 or whatever. That's the reason why I don't go at women hard, because I have a different understanding of what it is that they go through. And so I think that, like, if most men was able to talk to women that they respected, valued, believed, and was just open to having the conversation about what it is that they go through daily, then, maybe it would, change. Because a lot of times men just, you're not interested in that conversation. Because prior to, having the conversations myself, I can't say I was, I wasn't raping anybody or anything like that, but I can't say I wasn't marginalizing it myself. But it's been a while that I've had the conversation. So it's been a while since,
This is what people got to understand, because Lakeisha says, so who are the men doing most of the violence? Ghosts, the men none of the other men claim to know. Birds of a feather flock together. Like the guys who think it's cool to grab on women, they was all together in a group at the house picnic, doing it together. They weren't around guys who are against that or whatever. So it's the same thing with rape or sexual harassment. So what you got to understand is, when a man is not a rapist, or he's not the type to try to use his position at a job to make a woman sleep with him or anything like that, to a great degree, it's hard for him to imagine somebody else doing that. Like, I know guys who are child molesters. Some of the women in this group and stuff like that, I'm friends with them on Facebook. I could not fathom the child molestation thing until I found out that it happened, because I don't do that. And so it's hard for me to look at you and say you're a child molester if I don't know that that's what you are. But I don't have any problem. They're gonna be ostracized from me. I'm not worried about cool points. I don't live in a circle of guys who, if they stood up, everybody's gonna ridicule them, or guys who would care if they did. We grown men around here. I'm 43. I'm not newly a grown man. I've been a grown man for quite a while, and so I don't condone it. I don't endorse it. I have not made it my life's work to try to go around and figure out every guy who's doing it and stopping them. But in situations where I see that I can speak up or that I can make a difference, that's definitely what I'm going to try to do. But this is a very complex, long-lasting dynamic that's been going on for years and years and years, that I've seen parents and grandparents who didn't know how to deal with these types of things, and so they weren't able to pass down good information to the children and the grandchildren about how
what
to
could
deal
you
with that.
suggest for us to do, because right now, like you say, it's ongoing. It's what could one suggestion we all could give to people like us who are listening to us to try to help this culture be different? Is there something we could suggest that we do on a smaller scale amongst ourselves, around our peers, to help this situation? Do you think if you, like you said, you're not around it, but like you said something to those guys, if every guy did that, you may not be around them, but if you saw, man, that's not cool. If we not, yes, you're gonna get ridiculed, but
look, I think they just would do it when we aren't around. I mean, it's easy to say if men told other men don't do that, then they would stop. That's a lie. That man is a child molester because he a child molester, not because somebody because no one's telling him not to. That guy who's a rapist, he a rapist. It don't matter what you tell him. But let me go to jail for raping. But
let me tell you though, let's look at it though, how men perceive things. When you go to jail, what crimes do they say if you go in there that those men are gonna kill you or beat you if you do something to kids or something like that? They don't do it because you touch somebody's chest at the office. They don't do that because you beat your woman in there. They understand that. Well, no. That's what I'm talking about. The compassion stops. And that's what I'm asking for today on October Violence Month. Don't stop the compassion. That's what we need not to do. Don't stop, whether you're the neighbor, the brother, the co-worker, or the person who's never seen it before, and your friend. Because let me tell you, my ex-husband, he had a bunch of friends. They thought he was the best, greatest. He was a great uncle. He was great. All of that has nothing to do with who you are in a relationship. You got friends that are great fathers, but they cheat. You got friends that, you understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, you know some people. You know some people out there. And I'm saying, even if you don't know, you know them. If the conversation was just different that we have, like we can randomly talk about everything else we randomly talk about. If that became a conversation in our homes, like we got to sit down and we got to talk to people about, we have a different conversation we have with our children. Now, I did. I got 2 young black boys. I had to have a different conversation with them about going out here to police. When we think it is important enough to make that part of our conversation, because these women that are getting beat are your sisters. They're your daughters. They're your mothers. And so the people who we are allowing to beat them is somebody's son, somebody's cousin, and they're not keeping these secrets that good. Somebody knows somewhere. So even if you're not aware, at least having that kind of conversation will at least start changing the direction.
This is a strange dynamic for me. R. Kelly concerts are full right now. I'm going to say that again. R. Kelly's doing tours and he's doing concerts right now every day. And everybody know what he does and know what he's doing. And it's full of women who are still buying the CDs, still supporting it, still screaming when he's singing.
That's not the same thing, because here with R. Kelly, that's trivial. That's assumption. That's people giving consent. There's adults who was letting they underage. You can't really put that with the everyday conversation.
Turns out that a person who was close to me, I later found out that they did some things, along these lines. They were accused of some things along these lines. The interesting part about it is that I genuinely had no idea. I didn't have any idea that, I knew they had, certain behaviors as far as just, sexually or whatever, but I didn't have any idea that they had malice, with what they were doing. And I remember when I found out about it, it was kind of like, huh? And so I spoke to some people who else were close to him, and none of us knew. None of us knew about it. None of us had an idea. At the same time, what we did not do is say that's not possible. And I think that basically when it comes up, if you see something, if someone says something to you, you have to be able to understand this one thing. And she said it, and Valencia said it earlier. Just because they are this over here, don't mean they are not this over there. And so we have to look at it like that. And we have to, when it's brought to our attention, if like, our boys, girl come to us and say a little something, we have to give that attention. We have to give it credence, especially if you can look at a person in the eye and tell that they are serious or that they are scared or whatever. I think that is the first thing that we need to do, because not all the time do you, if you are a certain type of person, you try to surround yourself with a certain type of person. And when guys or when people see that you're not on what they're on, they'll hide it from you as best as they can. They will hide it from you. And that was the one thing that I found out. And as a person who doesn't do that, even if you see somebody being a little crazy, you just you don't put yourself in that mindset. I never, I would never want to think to myself that somebody was a child molester or somebody was, actually forcing women to have sex. Especially when you don't have to do it, you can get sex. So it's just not something that you would go to if you're not doing it, because most of the time we project, what we are on others. So.
I think what I've taken from a lot of what you said is that we just need to talk and have conversations about it, where it becomes norm to talk about this and not a hit and no ghosts out here, or we start having and be comfortable making it a part of common conversation. Like Keisha said, a man could be beating the hell out of his wife and be heralded as a pastor, a deacon, a coach. A lot of times they do have this facade of somebody you don't even know that's around you that has this. So we have to have the conversation and listen and not poo-poo because that's the pastor and he couldn't do it. Or that's the woman and she's upstanding and she's not hitting her. Either side, we have to listen and have conversations, I think, about everything in life. We have to be open to having people be comfortable to come to us with conversations. This has been it got heavy towards the end. He said, she said. So I appreciate everybody who listens, the people who chime in on Facebook, who help make our show. I appreciate you too for coming every week. Next week, Toussaint Warner will be here with Anna Nicole Lacey. That's what she is on Facebook. Tiffany will be here. I think all you guys will be here too. We'll talk about that, but we're going to be talking about Black wealth, building legacies and things like that. It'll be next week's topic. Thank you all. Nemia N. here on Facebook, who is also part of the He Said, She Said team. And we are going to have He Said, She Said live. We're going to do the He's versus the She's November 8th at room 183, 4167 West 183rd Street in Country Club Hills. We want you to check out Giovanna Jolie at 11614 South Marshfield. Check out their clothing. You'll love it. Thank you to go tonight to The Wire and hear Mr. E. You'll have a good time. It starts at 5:30. And I appreciate you guys listening. How can they reach you?
Okara Hollis on Facebook, Okara H on Instagram and Twitter. There's not a lot of Okaras.
Okay,
Valencia Jackson on Facebook.
Inyatu Marvel on Facebook and Marvelous Since 1974 on Instagram. Since that's INC.
And I wanted to be find me like I'm going to be here. I appreciate you all. Come back here the next week. We're going to start off with some hot topics and then go into Black wealth next week. Come here, same place, same time. 2 o'clock on IntellectualRadio.com.
Peace.
See you later, guys. Thank you, Facebook. I appreciate you all.
No reservations, invitations tonight. Play baby faces, start a nation tonight. Relaxation, sweet libation tonight. Slow pacing, yet my heart is racing tonight.